Hey, Andrea, what's up?
Hi. Nice to talk to you. I'm a huge fan. Super nervous, like everyone else. I hate to be like everybody else, but it is how it is.
Good. Thank you so much for calling. What's up?
Of course. So my question is how do I struggle with having to need acceptance and just, I don't know, just constant reassurance from people. And I am married, and so that's basically the question.
Okay. They gave me a little bit of a heads up about your story. You've had a story that you've told on national TV a couple of times. Like, talk us through it.
Yeah, so I'm adopted. Okay. I was born in Peru, Lima, Peru. My parents are my dad's a doctor. He's a pathologist, and my mom's a nurse midwife. She's director of her clinic in Pasadena.
Your adoptive parents?
Yes, my adoptive parents.
All right.
And they came to adopt me at about 5 months old. And unfortunately, the U.S. consulate wouldn't allow them to adopt me. And so they had to come back to Peru. And I was 5 months. So I was obviously, not a baby. And so my mom tried to keep me, my biological mother tried to keep me for 5 months. Unfortunately, she was taking care of a lot of her family members. She was the only one able to work. And she loved me very much because she wanted to keep me. And I know that. This is a fact. And so she had to come back from her little village. I think it's outside of Cusco. And she had to, I don't know how far it is, but she had to get on a bus that amount of time, see me again after saying goodbye to me.
Hold on. And Andrea?
Uh-huh.
Let's don't go through the whole thing. I want you to get right to it so I can help you right now, okay?
Uh-huh.
It rolls back into like a pattern of all the way, walk me through your story from you got adopted and you got brought to the States. How old were you when you got to the States?
I was 8 months.
8 months. Okay. Let's never doubt or question again that your mom loved you, correct? Your bio mom?
Right. No, yeah.
Cool.
I kind of just I've told this story so many times.
I know. I can tell. It's just you just jumped right on a loop there, okay? So stay with me present, okay?
Yeah.
All right. So you come here at 8 months old, and then where did things get sideways for you?
My parents divorced when they separated when I was 4, and they divorced when I was 6.
Okay. So you had the second massive trauma for a little kid.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Fortunately for me, though, I'm very self-aware. I've always been self-aware.
You were 4, so I'm not going to buy that. Keep going. Keep going.
That's true. So after 4 years old, my parents tried to stay in the same home.
Okay.
For about up until probably about 7 or 8. That probably wasn't the best idea. I will say my mom tried her best at keeping the fighting under wraps. I only remember one fight, but I'm sure I don't know what I've pushed underneath, but I only remember
a lot. You pushed a lot of it. You had a chaotic divorced family trying to live in the same house. 2 very wealthy, 2 very smart people trying to intellectualize something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fortunately, my dad is he's a little bit different. My mom thinks more with her heart, and my dad, his heart recently started beating, luckily, but yeah, anyway.
So take me into your teenage years and into your young adult years.
So when I was about 12 years old, my dad, he hit me in the face, and I don't recall abuse. I recall being scared a lot. That's the one and only time I remember him hitting me. And he grabbed me out of my bed, and we weren't able to communicate. It's really hard to communicate with him. And so basically the story was we went to grocery shopping, and I grabbed orange juice, and he likes to put everything in the fridge himself. So I didn't put it in the fridge because I didn't want to upset him. Okay. So I just left it out. And then he came in my room and said, "Hey, did you get some orange juice?" I threw it all out. I thought it was open. And then he came out and threw me out of my bed and said, "You don't deserve anything," and turned off the electricity, took the radio, everything. Said, "You don't deserve it."
How did he turn off the electricity to his house?
Like not electricity, but turned the light off, turned the AC off, turned the radio off.
So you're 12 and he threw you on the floor and he punched you in the face?
Yeah, it was more like a hard slap. Okay. And he threw me on the floor and said, "You don't deserve anything." And that next morning, we drove the car to my school, and he kept saying, like, don't tell anybody, don't tell anybody.
Sure.
Like, you don't deserve food, you don't deserve anything in this
Sure.
weekend when you come, because it was going to be his weekend.
Okay.
You just wait. I went
hold
to
on,
school.
stop.
Oh,
You just got this train track. So you get on the story. You've told us so many times, and you've told us so many times you don't feel it, but I can hear it in your voice. It comes up.
Yeah, probably.
Bio moms aren't supposed to be in a situation where they can't hang on to their babies. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And then parents who do remarkable things and adopt young kids, not supposed to come home and their world blows up and they get divorced, and I'm sorry. And dads aren't supposed to hit their baby little girls for being 12 or for any reason. And dads aren't supposed to tell daughters they don't deserve things, because that's not true. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Hold on, you just blew by it again. Sit in it for a second. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So let's don't go through each one of these little things. And I know you and I could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours. But get to when things got sideways.
Well, kind of like a little brief. I started cutting myself.
Yep.
Around that time, obviously, and that day I told the counselor.
Okay.
And my mom wanted to press charges and stuff, but we just decided it was just best that I just not go back. And he didn't try to talk to me for a year. I just feel like that's a big part of it. He didn't talk to me for a year, that I know of, that I remember. I don't remember being reached out to. I remember about 14 months.
Okay.
And later on, we go to obvious therapy my whole life, and then about 15, I was sent to I was mental hospitals up until that time, really, because of the cutting. My mom was always, my mom and I are best friends, and she's always been. Unfortunately, I always wanted my dad's attention, and so the only way I would get it would be negatively.
Yeah. And by the way, you're not supposed to be best friends with your mom when you're 14. You're not.
Right.
That's not strong parenting.
Right.
That's codependent parenting.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be their kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately for her, she's treated me like
I know. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Just you and me. That shouldn't happen that way. Because then you find yourself really desperately seeking, trying to ask your dad as a 12-year-old, 13, 14-year-old, what did I do? Why don't you love me? You came and rescued me, and then you don't love me, and then you're also burdened at the same time with propping up and holding up your mom's friendship. And that's too much weight for a 14-year-old. It's just too much. You're supposed to just be a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Right? All right, so go ahead.
So I go to a rehab, behavioral, long-term, for a year in New Mexico. I come back.
Were you actively suicidal?
I mean, I wasn't I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
And my mom never believed that either. I think I just wanted attention. I think I truly believe that.
Yeah, they don't send away young kids for a year-long inpatient treatment program just because they want attention.
I was also fighting in school, and I was I'd been kicked out of 3 schools in one semester.
Okay.
So it was a lot.
That's
it
more
was
than
more
just
behavioral.
Cutting. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah,
it was
more behavioral.
Okay.
Yeah, it was sorry. And so I started dabbling in drugs when I was when I was probably 14, but it was very light. Before I went to that school for a year, I just wanted to. It was just around. It wasn't really anything.
When did you start using heavy?
When I was about 18,
okay.
or about 19, 20.
And then what happened when you're 19, 20 and you're over your head with using?
I started getting abused again from a boyfriend.
Okay. And by the way, this is going to sound nuts on this show, but it makes sense to me that a 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old started using drugs in increasing amounts based on what you'd been through. Because at some point, your body cannot metabolize all that's going on around you, and drugs work.
Yeah.
They take that pain away. They take the edge off. They give you energy when you don't have it. They make you feel like you thought you were going to feel in a loving, caring relationship. And so how old are you now?
I just turned 33.
Okay. It's easy for a 33-year-old to harshly and tragically judge her 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old self. Because I know that comes along with that a beautiful young woman who's from Peru, who has no dad in the picture, is going to be a open season target on young men, for young men, and someone who drinks too much and uses a lot. And the things you have to do to get the drugs in increasing amounts haunt you as a 33-year-old, right?
Yep.
Give that girl some grace. Okay? That girl was trying to survive because she had a mom that she couldn't prop up. She had a dad that was absent. She had a bio mom that just couldn't hang on. She was shifting cultures in and out of, like, just screaming to any adult who would listen, do you love me and do you see me? And every adult said, nope. We're sending you to New Mexico. You're sitting you can't even sleep in this bed. That's a child who was desperate for adults in her life to be adults, and you didn't have that, and I'm so sorry. Do you hear that? I don't blame that little Andrea. I don't blame that little girl. My heart breaks for her. So what happened when you were 20, 21, 22? You're in abusive relationships, and then things really got sideways?
Yeah, I was in and out of jail, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, my mom only, she was an enabler for a very long time, but she, eventually she was able to stop. She started going to her own classes, but I was my first case, it was a prostitution and a possession case, and it was terrifying.
And were you escorting for money or for power or for what?
For money.
Okay. How long did you escort for?
For about 4 to 6 years.
Okay. Does your husband know?
Yes.
Okay. What did getting clean look like?
Oh gosh, 10 rehabs later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to get clean so bad, and I think that's why I was on like shows, because people could tell, I have a story, I'm different, and I was at my 10th rehab, and also what prompted that 10th rehab was I got an internal abscess in my spine,
mm-hmm.
and that almost
that'll kill you.
Yeah.
How long you been clean?
About 5.5, 6 years now.
Are you fully clean?
I smoke weed.
Okay. Do you still drink?
No. Okay. Well, at restaurants, but like drinking, to me, in my opinion, drinking has never been like a thing for me because I've never really cared for it. My mom was a big drinker.
Okay. You done with heroin?
Yes.
Are you done with meth?
Yes. I've never really cared for meth.
Okay.
Really. But my heroin was my drug of choice.
Yeah. You know what heroin is?
Trash.
It's a cheap replacement for love. Biochemically, it's a cheap replacement for love.
Never thought of it that way.
That's what it is. And so, all that to say is, I want you to hear, like, we're not together. I can't see you. I can hear you. But as much as possible, you sit here in front of me as a 33-year-old woman. Do you have kids?
No, thank goodness.
Okay. You're married? How long you been married?
Less than a year, last November.
Is he a good guy?
Yes.
Is he safe?
We actually met at rehab.
Oh, that's just great.
Yeah, I know.
Is he safe?
We've been together. Yeah, we've been together for 7 years, though.
All right. He treats you right?
He's a great guy. Yeah.
He honors you?
Know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the challenge that's before you. You started this call by saying you have a need from approval and validation.
Yes.
And I want to tell you, yes. Because there's a little girl and they're still looking at biomom saying, where's my mom? Where's my mom? While these two Americans take you away. And then your dad is screaming and yelling at you and hitting you over a thing of orange juice, for God's sake. And there's a little girl and they're screaming, what did I do? Dad, what did I do? And there's a mom who treats you like a friend because she doesn't have any of her own. And that turns into like catastrophic enabling. And there's a little girl and they're screaming, will somebody please be an adult? And you hit a kid at school and you're crying out, will some adult protect me from myself? And you start cutting because that pain feels like it's welling up inside of you and the whole dam is going to burst unless you let some of that steam out. And the whole time you're screaming, will somebody be an adult? And nobody showed up, man. And so when you tell me you're 33 and you're married to a great guy and you're clean, and there's still this nagging sense that I don't belong here and I need approval, I'm going to say yes. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. The story ahead of you is this. You have to choose that your adoption becomes the least interesting thing about you. You have to choose that 7 or 8 years of hard heroin use and prostitution is the least interesting thing about you. Because you have a ready story, already like bound and ready to hand like a business card to everybody you meet. It says, this is me. And it's not. 10 rehabs, you know how badass you have to be to get it back on a horse 10 times?
Yeah.
When I was sparring with professional fighters, there was this guy named Jack, and he kept just annihilating me. And after like 4 or 5 sparring sessions, I quit fighting Jack. You didn't. You got back in the ring again and again and again, 10 times. So you hear somebody who failed 10 times. I hear an absolute gangster. And that is way more interesting to me than you doing whatever you could, including using your body, to have somebody on the planet tell you that you are worth being loved, even for a short period of time. But that means you're going to have to decide to forgive Andrea, especially little girl Andrea. And then decide, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You survived. You made it. You're here. So what do you do for a living now?
I was a manager of a restaurant for like the past 6 years, and I quit that restaurant, and I'm about to start another restaurant now.
Okay.
Do I love it? No.
What do you love?
I've always wanted to be an LCDC.
Okay. Why don't you go get your certification?
To be honest, because we've decided that it's more important for my husband to go to school. We can only afford for one person to go to school at a time.
Okay. What's he studying?
Right now, he's just going for his basics. We're both kind of he's more so in that situation that like he's really good at school. I'm unfortunately not. I've always told myself
that's not true. That's just a stupid story you told yourself.
Probably.
At HCC, I'm fairly certain that you could get. Do you have a degree already?
No.
Okay. I'm almost 95% sure. It's been a minute since I've lived in Texas, but at Houston Community College, that entire network or the Lone Star system has basics for you that you could go get an associate's degree for virtually nothing at the same time with your husband. And sister, you went to 10 rehabs. You can freaking do social studies 101.
Never thought about it like that.
And my wife was doing a PhD while I was doing a PhD while we had a kid. You and your husband can figure it out. And our love life was still pretty damn good. Okay? Y'all can figure that out if you want to.
Yeah.
But you have to decide, I'm going to make what happened the least interesting part. I, in 10 years, am going to have a thriving counseling practice where I take care of folks who are struggling with addiction. And I'm going to be one of those LCDC counselors that sits down and looks across the room at people and they go, oh, she knows, she gets it. You remember sitting in front of some of those counselors and your whole body just felt safe for the first time?
Yeah.
You're going to be one of them. But you have to stop leading with the story of survival. It will be redeemed someday. I have no question about it. But it's not the whole of you. The whole of you is strong and gritty and streetwise and unstoppable is the story. You just have to decide that's it. Here's your homework assignment. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here's your homework assignment. I want you to write 8-month-old Andrea a letter. And I want you to honor and shout out and praise that little girl for making it from Peru out of the hands of a mom that loved her deeply but just couldn't find enough food for her baby and let her baby go. Write that 8-month-old girl a letter. And then I want you to write 12-year-old Andrea a second letter. The one that got beat up by her dad for orange juice being left out on the counter. And tell that little girl, you've got it now. You've got it now. She gets to go play now. Because when she was unsafe and unloved for that time, so sorry that you went through that. And then your last letters, I want you to write 22-year-old Andrea a letter. The one who's discovered heroin and how it feels like just warm honey and a hug. That hug that you needed from somebody else for so long. And that one that realized I can use my body for money and that will get me to the next day and the next day and the next day. I want you to write her a letter and tell her, I see you and I love you. And in our 30s, I'm going to redeem this thing, this story. And then your final homework assignment, and this is a fourth letter, I want you to write 50-year-old Andrea a letter and tell her the things that you're going to start doing at 33 so that 50-year-old Andrea has the life that she deserves and has been dreaming of, which is a thriving practice, a great marriage, a couple of gnarly Houston dogs, some more Astros championships on the wall, right? But let's start looking towards the future instead of stop identifying yourself with that past. Only you can make that call. I'm talking to a warrior, Andrea, a survivor. Before the day's over, I want you to call Houston Community College and Lone Star Community College and see if you can set up at least one class for this upcoming session. Maybe 2 classes. Just start. And you're going to blink and you're going to open your eyes. You're going to have a degree. You're going to start your LCDC practice. And you're going to start redeeming this story. Thanks for the call, sister. Call anytime.